Oh, that's so unbelievably not welcome here. Let's try to get a grip. I love you too, man. It's so good to be back here on the island, damn it. How are you?
All right, well, thank you for coming out here.
It's been a long day. You have no idea how happy I am to be here right now.
All right, well, let's start out with an easy one.
Okay.
What is the significance of the title of your book, America 51?
So, this book started out very different. It was supposed to be, I've had the privilege of being able to, travel all over America and see a lot of the amazing places, amazing people, and amazing regions that make up this country. That makes it multicultural, diverse, interesting, quirky, funny, weird. And so I was kind of do a roadmap of like all the places that you don't see in the big Budweiser commercial that America has, It was going to be, about places in the Northeast and the South and the Southwest and that's why it was called America 51. It was a play on Area 51, like all the stuff like behind the scenes that you don't really get to hear about. And then that changed drastically as things started to get a little weird in our country, or more importantly, the awareness of things being a little weird in our country, because it's always kind of been there, but it was always just kind of under the surface. We kept it at bay. And then the more it started to bubble over, the more I felt like I needed to kind of take a second and address it and address the real issue, which is people are screaming over our heads and we're not talking to each other. So this book is encouraging people to talk to each other and get on the same page, because I feel like 98% of us are on the same page. We have nothing against each other. So let's stick together and do it for each other. And that's what this book is about.
So did it begin as a reaction to Trump, or were you writing it before the campaign and the election?
I was working on it before the campaign. And, as the campaign started to kind of move in that direction, I kind of had to start over. And, I basically highlighted 3 chapters worth of work, and I just went, yeah, that's goodbye. There, that's awesome. But in a way, I'm kind of glad that I did, because it changed what the book was. Before, it was very much me with my finger in the air, sounding like a complete ass, and which I have a habit of doing. And it became more about, this isn't just about me. This isn't about trying to be right. This is about all of us. Why are we here? Why are we in this position? When did we get to the point where Donald Trump was the best option for president? What? And that's where it came from. So it came about by kind of backtracking and trying to see the paths that led us here, why, and where do we go from here?
So in your book, you write, hypocrisy is more American than freedom. What are some of the other hypocrisies that you touch upon in your book?
There's a lot. There's a lot of hypocrisy on both sides of the political coin. I hate to say it, but a lot of people who I have the same kind of views with tend to be the more hypocritical. The liberals are certainly showing their hypocritical stripes these days, but in a way that I never thought I would see when it came to the death of that sort of empathy, So I think it runs through everybody. I think it, everyone trying so hard to make themselves be right, they show their natural hypocrisy by not even listening to the other side of the conversation. And that's where it's not a conversation anymore, it's an argument. So that hypocrisy comes out whether it's, trying to preach equality while also trying to shut down another person's views because you just don't happen to agree with them, or, I could go on and on. I want to bore you with it. It's all in the book, but it's very much one of the things that bums me out about this country. But we can also fix it. If we know what it is, we can also turn it around and try to make it a positive instead of a negative.
Now, there's a lot of political history in your book. How did you go about researching?
A lot of it was from memory. I've been studying political history my whole life, just from being a history fan and remembering all the things that not only that I've lived through, but also have read about. But at the same time, just trying to put certain things in context, because, a lot of people are so quick to point out that, this didn't happen. It's like, well, wait a minute, actually it did. If more people did more research, they wouldn't look like asshats in retrospect, basically. So for me, I wanted to make sure that I absolutely did all the research that I could to make sure that I didn't come off as just being preachy, but also because I was, trying to use fact to make a point, to prove a point, to show that we do have certain historical trends that kind of come and go in this country as certain freedoms, certain cultural shifts have kind of risen and ebbed. I just wanted to make sure that people knew that I wasn't just spouting weirdness, that I was trying to, know what I was saying.
Now, assuming that we all survive the presidency, how do we, as a country and as individuals, do better the next time, and what qualities should we be looking for in a political candidate?
It's very well written, by the way. We're going to be fine. It's going to be a little weird at first, but we're going to be fine. We've definitely had weird in the past, and the great thing about that is retroactively we've figured out ways to make things better in retrospect. How do we do it? I think it starts with us. It starts with us. It starts with us not voting a party line because it's what our family did or what it was expected of us or it's what our friends think we should do. I think we need to all individually really start to figure out who represents our best interests. And if they're not there, then we find somebody who does, and we go from there. Because I certainly don't see myself in either party, and I haven't for a very long time, and that bums me out. The people who are supposed to be helping us run this country should be reflected in the populace. And for a large amount, it's not. These are career politicians who are just trying to get by, and they're going to tell you whatever they can to get that vote. But if we stop listening and start talking to each other about what is best for us and stop letting them figure out what's best for us, that's where it really needs to start. And that's the only place that change is really going to happen.
Now, in your book, you also wrote, I'm just trying to make some semblance of sense for myself.
Yeah.
How much did writing your book help you understand or cope with the state of America?
I mean, it definitely helped me figure out a lot. It not only helped me figure out a lot, it gave me a good foundation to come back to as far as what I believe, what I want, and what I feel and hope for in this country. I think a lot of people, they get lost in a lot of the rhetoric and the politics and the dogma that kind of clings to it. So you never get a real sense of what you want politically. You don't have that bedrock. And by writing this book, it definitely helped me sort out what I expect from my leaders, what I expect from people who are trying to, write the laws and write the rules and write the regulations, or in some cases deregulating. To me, it was a great way to kind of go back to factory settings and figure out who I was by figuring out who I'm not. And now I will definitely be voting with a clearer conscience.
Now, is there anything that's happened since you finished writing your book that you wish you could have written about?
Oh, Jesus, what week is this? Seems like every week. I mean, that's part of the problem, though, is that a lot of the 24-hour networks keep our paranoia at an all-time high, regardless of what that all-time high is. They keep us stressed out with the smallest little bit because that's how they get views, that's how they get clicks, that's how they get views, that's how they get likes, that's how they get all this stuff. So when something actually fundamentally comes along, we're all just so stressed out that it just blows right by us. So when everything's crazy, nothing's crazy. So we don't react the way we absolutely should. So for me, it's just trying to sift through all that and go, God, I'm glad I didn't write about this, but how did I miss that? Because it was all at the same level of panic. And we shouldn't feel like that. Not in this country. Not about little tiny because the big is getting by because we're so wiped out about the tiny.
Now, have your own personal politics changed since the election and since writing the book?
No, not really. I mean, if anything, it's like I said before, it's solidified what I feel. And I feel like the majority of the country is with me. You know, I've always been fiscally conservative, but socially liberal. Watch my money, but if you're not hurting anybody, why can't we all just, wish for the best for everybody? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having one foot on each side of the fault line. You don't have to tote the party line. I don't know many people who are all left or all right. We all have a little bit of that in common. So that, I think in a way, really spurred the book and made me write with that kind of urgency again, because I could identify with us. I couldn't identify with them, but I could definitely identify with us. And I think if more of us can get on the same page and admit that, then we'll be okay.
Now, when did you become interested in politics? Was it something that you paid attention to growing up?
Yeah, you kind of had to. I mean, I was poor as hell, so you kind of had to pay attention to, what was going on. I mean, if it wasn't for a lot of programs, I wouldn't be here. So you definitely paid attention to the people who wanted to vote away those programs. But it also gave you a sense of, but why? Sometimes, they use the word smaller government a lot or bigger government a lot, but it only really pertains to the stuff they don't like, because they don't mind the fingers being in certain pies. But there's other pies that are like, nope, hands off. We want smaller government, but you're okay to deregulate this. Oh, okay, fair enough. I see how it is. So I'm the cool. That's good.
And now, how is this similar or different to the other books that you've written?
I will never write a political book again. It is not because of the reaction, because honestly the reaction has been incredibly favorable, so thank you for that. But just because it's exhausting. It is so, like, I was just on 10 the entire time writing this book. It was like, oh God! And I hated it because I had such a great experience writing You're Making Me Hate You, and then to come back to this ulcer of a book, I was just like, oh God. When by the time I was done, I didn't even want to look at it. I was just like, I'm done with this. But I'm absolutely proud that I did it. I mean, it took a lot of work, it took a lot of time, it took a lot of effort, and it backed me up as a person. But I tell you right now, the next one is just going to be all like jokes. Like, that's, I cannot handle it anymore. Really? That's what you applaud is earmuffs. We got kids up front. I'm sorry, they're out of control.
And how does your experience as a musician influence you as a writer?
That's a good question. I think I never want to feel like I'm writing the same music over and over and over, especially when you're into it the way I am. So the same kind of applies to writing books. You never want to feel like you're writing the same book over and over and over, because it's okay to use the same voice. But if you're writing about the same theme, the same topic constantly, it just gets tired. You get to the point where you've tapped it out, and then it just becomes a flat line all the way across. For me, it's about the passion. It's about the heartbeat. It's just keeping it there and making sure that the people reading it feel it as much as you felt it when you were writing it. And that's the way I approach music. It's the way I approach life. It's the way I approach books. It's the way I approach everything. And I hope that translates like that.
Now, my last question. How do you think the fans of your music are going to react to what you've written in this new book?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I mean, honestly, I'm not looking to start an argument. I'm not. What I'm looking to do is start a conversation, because that's the only way things get fixed. Nobody listens to you when you're screaming, unless it's Slipknot. Just saying. I don't know how to top that.
You ready to sign some books?
Okay, God, I better be.
You guys ready?